The autism scam that we've seen in the Somalian parts of Minnesota really illustrates well what's been going on across whole layers of our government. So you have a program set up under Medicaid to help autistic children and their families get the resources that they need, because of course we know that when you have a kid who's on the spectrum, it requires a little bit more help, a little bit more services. And so the government, enforcing the mandate from the American people to be kind and compassionate to our citizens, has set up this program to help families who are dealing with these particular struggles. Now, what we've seen is Somali fraudsters at an industrial scale taking advantage of that program to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. And there are two separate tragedies there. The first tragedy is that you have people who pay into the federal government, who pay into the IRS, who pay their taxes expecting that those taxes will go to help their fellow citizens, and it's not going there. It's going to help fraudsters. That's tragedy number one. And the more important tragedy is that you have families who need these services who are unable to get them because people are getting rich off of fraud schemes instead of making sure that autistic children and their families get access to these resources. And unfortunately, that story, while it's very concrete and very obvious what we're seeing in Minneapolis, it is replayed again and again and again across many states and across many different programs. It has to stop. The President of the United States has ordered us to stop it, and that's what this task force is going to do. So without further ado, I'll kick it over to Andrew, who will talk about some of our work here today. But the most exciting thing is that this task force is finally stood up. We've got allies at Department of Justice now who are going to take this thing by the horns. We've got allies across every major significant department, and we are going to stop the fraud that's being committed against the American people. Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'd like to begin by thanking President Trump and the Vice President for the confidence they put in me to help lead the task force. America is the most generous nation in the history of the world. For decades, Americans have turned over trillions of their tax dollars to social welfare programs to help their neighbors and fellow citizens through hard times. They've done so on the basis of social trust, the belief that their governments, state and federal, will do the right things with their dollars and that their fellow citizens will honestly participate in these programs. Fraud shreds the social trust on which these programs and our entire nation depend. This fraud crisis is thus existential. If we fail to address it, the fabric of our nation will swiftly unravel. And the American people feel like they are getting ripped off, and they're right. As the President's executive order establishing this task force declared, extensive, undetected fraud can only exist in a system that ignores it. And fraud is indeed easy to ignore when grasping politicians are in on the con. For years, the Biden administration and its allies in Democrat-run states knew of this corruption in our federal benefits programs and did nothing about it. Their failures have robbed every American citizen of their tax dollars, but even worse, they've deprived American citizens who actually need these services. Every dollar diverted to a fake hospice or a fake autism center, every dollar paid to an upcoding hospital deprives an American citizen who needs these essential services. Fraud, therefore, wounds the neediest among us, the very people that Americans want to help when they fund our social welfare programs. Finally, we have a president who is doing something about this corruption crisis. We are here today because President Trump and Vice President Vance won't ignore it, and we won't ignore the public officials who have facilitated it. Our work on this task force will be to develop a comprehensive national strategy to combat the corruption of our federal benefits programs and to assist the Department of Justice in prosecuting those who have corrupted them. In doing so, we will restore the social trust that has been lost because of mismanagement and fraud. The presence today of so many members of the President's cabinet, including the Vice President himself, is a testimony to the importance of our work and its priority in this administration. Together, we can remove the scourge of fraud in our federal benefits programs, and we can restore public confidence in their efficacy and integrity. I look forward to our important work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen Miller.
They said it will never happen, but now it's official. The Donald Trump administration is taking what many are calling historic steps to crack down on fraud, and people are not ready for what's coming next. We're talking aggressive enforcement, tighter systems, and zero tolerance approach that's already sending shockwaves across multiple industries. For years, critics said fraud was out of control. Now, the message is loud and clear. No more loopholes, no more second chances, and the biggest question right now is who's getting caught in the middle of this crackdown? Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're new here, do let us know where you're watching us from. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you never miss a video. Video credit goes to the original creators for every video used in this episode. Let's get into the video. I'll be right back with more commentary.
Never surrender. Until it is over, it's not over. And ladies and gentlemen, it's over for the fraudsters in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, I mean, as I sort of just mentioned, we've been covering the fraud everywhere. Minnesota, California, rampant, and I'm sure they'll get into a lot of that. But, now Ukraine. I mean, J.D. Vance has a fraud task force. Kash Patel is turbocharging the fraud probes. We have a new joint task force with the FBI and HSI in the One Big Beautiful Bill. How can we, bring all of this together to deliver, actual indictments and recover funds? Because, we see this stuff all the time. It's almost a never-ending amount of fraud and almost a never-ending amount of, culprits. Yet, I know I do, and I'm sure all the people watching, they want to see indictments. Now, they got to understand there is a process, maybe explain that a little bit, because if you break the process, you break that sort of, chain a little bit, it's a lot worse, because not only will nothing happen, they'll weasel out of it and probably continue this stuff. But can you talk a little bit about that? Because, again, I think people do want action. It seems the Democrats get action without following the rules. We won't get that. It'll get venue shopped to a judge who would throw it out in 2 seconds. So we have to play by a different fact set, unfortunately. But how does all that work right now?
Well, I think one of the things that you're seeing is a little bit of innovation by the Trump Justice Department in where they pick venues. So, if you go to D.C. and New York, you're not going to get a conviction. Traditionally, that's where most big government fraud cases have gone. However, if a single subcontractor is in another state, or if a single contractor or NGO is in another state, you're seeing this Trump Justice Department move cases to those states. That's how the grand conspiracy case is now down in Miami. Last week, you saw Bill Pulte, the Federal Housing Finance Administration Director and the head of Fannie Mac and Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. He referred Letitia James a second time. She gets cleared in Northern Virginia the first time. He sends a second referral this time. He sends it to Florida and to Chicago, because that's where the mortgage insurance companies or the house insurance companies were based. That's an innovative way of potentially tackling this and getting around some of the jury nullification issues that we've seen in D.C. and New York. There is a brand new assistant attorney general just for fraud. So there's a whole new division of the Justice Department dedicated to fraud. New resources, new mindset, new top-down management. This case, if it were to be proven, if you could find the grant and the money moving, would be tailor-made for that division. And then you bring it in the venue where the best, or the jurisdiction where the best opportunity is for conviction based on the evidence. And so those are things that they're looking at right now. There are 2 American companies that were mentioned as the ultimate destination where the money would go before it was disseminated. Those were redacted from the report because obviously you want to preserve the lead gen for the Justice Department and the FBI. But the intercepts clearly named the American companies that they thought ultimately would be disseminating the money to the DNC and to Joe Biden. So there's a lot of information in the raw NSA reports, and it seems to me that the Trump administration has hit the ground running now. And so I think J.D. Vance will be involved in recovering the money. The fraud team, the FBI, Kash Patel, is out there every day arresting bad guys. And pretty soon I wouldn't be surprised if Kash Patel is putting handcuffs or certainly booking John Brennan based on what we're hearing down in Florida. There are some people that went and got phone records of Susie Wiles. They could be arrested soon. So you're beginning to see machinery, which was very slow at the beginning because you had to get this evidence put together, now starting to get into targeted prosecutions, targeted arrests. And I think a lot of that's going to happen in the April-May timeframe. I think we'll see a bunch of significant arrests and indictments in the next 2 months.
You know why I have now more hope than ever?
This could be one of the most aggressive anti-fraud pushes we've seen in decades, and it's only getting started. Supporters say it's long overdue. Critics say it could even go further. But one thing is undeniable, the system is changing very fast. So what do you think? Is this accountability people have been waiting for, or the start of something much bigger? If you value conversations that go deeper than headlines, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on your notifications so you never miss future discussions. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay compassionate, and most importantly, stay active in the dialogue. If you missed what was said at the beginning, watch that again. I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.